right. All right, Rahubat, Hotep, peace, and Black Power to everybody that's out there. It's another class, another Science in the Waffle class. Decided to make sure I do it more, every week to make sure I keep abreast on everything going on out there. And main thing to try to keep abreast on certain topics that was covered last week to, just for me doing my own research on certain things such as the Africa Bambaataa situation and, of course, our people have an over infatuation with celebrities. You talk about Beyonce. Bambaataa and Beyonce are celebrities at the end of the day. So that would be the usual thing that we're going to talk about, or that's going to be the two topics we're going to talk about tonight. But start off with Bambaataa. Knowing that this is a touchy subject, and I've noticed this within the last week or a week and a half or so when the whole stuff came out. When I first found out about it, I think it had been maybe 2.5 weeks ago. And main thing I did not want to do was really, to be honest with you, be biased on either side. When I say that, I'm saying they want to incriminate the brother without any real evidence. At the same time, you still have people who are claiming to be molested, be sexually assaulted by this man, and these were children back then. So we have to not contradict ourselves by saying that we're for the children as black organizations, and then when children say something, we don't know what to say, or we're blaming the children, or we're pretending it doesn't happen. So the main thing is common sense is this. If you're dealing with something that's child molestation, sexual assault with minors and this and that, and you're dealing with the two brothers that came out, one brother, his name was Poppy, the other brother I seen, he did I think it's Ron something, but he did an interview on Silent TV. Every once in a while I look at Silent TV to just keep abreast on certain people, such as Dr. Africa, Professor Smalls, Leonard Jeffries, people like that. But when I stumbled upon the interview, I had to look at it. Now, you can't make a conclusion off of an interview of whether something happened. But the one thing you can do is you could pretty much look at an individual when they're expressing themselves to really see what the emotion is. And some people can tell whether a person's lying or not based upon their expression and what they're saying. Now, when I looked at the brother, with certain questions I was asked, the main thing was, people are saying that you may be doing this for money. Are you doing this for money? And the brother made a good point. He's like, I couldn't listen to Bambaataa's music for like several years. He said, first of all, I'm 50 years old. This is not Poppy. This is the brother, first name was Ron. And I think it's Ron Savage. I'm not mistaken, but I think that's his name. But if I'm wrong, someone can do the research and correct me. But because his is the picture that is real famous for him, with he's crying. You see the picture of him crying. But he said he couldn't even listen to Bambaataa's music for years. And so he's like, do you think I want his money? It's like, come on, He's like, I had to be talked into doing this, but he felt like after a while, even without being talked into doing it, that it was the right thing to do because according to him, that what happened to him messed up his relationship with women, with his former wife, his child's mom, that he couldn't hold her hand, he couldn't really interact with her on an intimate level because of what happened with him with Bambaataa. And what was talked about was very graphic. It was very graphic things, the way he was describing it, how, Bambaataa comes in and, trying to make the brother, masturbate. And this is stuff that was said. I want people to do their research for themselves just to listen to what he had to say. And the thing is, the usual thing is that he's the response that I usually get from this situation is that, okay, because the brother's 50. He's not a young dude. He's a 50-year-old man. So this was going on in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. He's 15 years old. So, and it was, matter of fact, if you want to be honest, this happened, if he's 50 years old, this was happening when Zulu Nation first started in the mid to late 70s. So we got to start looking at things like this to think, wow, like how long was this going on? According to him. Now, again, I do my best to not incriminate anybody, but there's a lot of things that I just, goes through your mind when you listen to someone's testimony that says, wow. Now, some people will say, wow, it sounds like you got converted. I'm like, it seems like we're in a culture. This is me being honest with the people, my perspective on something, no one else's perspective but my own. It seems as though we want it to be not true rather than say, yo, if this is true, we got to do something about this and we got to help this brother heal. Because you could tell also when I'm looking at him talk, you could tell he's damaged. You could tell something happened to him. Something happened to him, and it didn't look good at all. When the brother was talking, you can tell him trying to express this, because of this situation. And some people could say, well, it could have just been that situation that was hard for him to put out there. That could be the case as well. We don't know what it was, but at the end of the day, we can only go off his testimony. And just from my observation of how the brother was talking, it didn't look very good. It didn't at all. It really didn't. It was also said that people didn't say anything about it. There were others involved that he didn't put out there, but there were others that can stand attest to the fact that this was going on. There's also other interviews from also Hot 97 where people who are high-ranking people in Zulu Nation confirms that Afrika Bambaataa is gay. I mean, it's a lot, man. One thing I noticed with us as a people that we want to call ourselves conscious, because I don't even like using that word anymore. We're all the same. At the end of the day, we're all black people that are dealing with our own situations and we're trying to solve our problems. That's how I look at it at this point. But with this situation, it just looks bad. And then when, Bambaataa came out and he was on, Monie Love and Ed Lover's show, he denied it. Of course, it's false. They're out to get me and it could be you tomorrow. But it was just like, it just seemed like that's something that, of course, he's going to say, not what happened. It's just this is what he was going to say. No one was really surprised, and it was a very softball interview. I think that, of course, Bambaataa is a sentimental favorite to everybody in hip hop because of who he is. But at the end of the day, if this is true, something got to be done about this. I think that what we have to stop doing. And I notice people, again, like I talked about last week, they get mad at me because of actually addressing it, like as if I'm incriminating my father, which I'm not. But at what point is it okay to talk about what happens to our children? As if we're supposed to act like that doesn't happen, when it happens every day, and it happens from our own people. And again, as I said last week, a lot of what has happened to us is due in part with what we've learned from our enemy, white people. But we don't want to deal with that. We want to make it seem like this is something inbred in us to be savages to our own people, which is not right. But at the same time, we have to deal with what's going on. We can't sit up here and act like we can't solve our problems. When we have a problem, it needs to be addressed. We have to stop pretending like we don't have any, or it's always someone else's fault why something happens. And this is a situation that, again, is tough for us to kind of like just look at because we're witnessing something. And it's crazy. It's not something that is easy to talk about. But at the same time, if this is what happened, and we got to come to a solution to what happened here. It doesn't look good for him because there's more people than I know about that are coming out right now on Bambaataa, and this is real. And people, again, what we have to stop doing is we have to stop acting like things are not going on, and there's always a conspiracy, is this. And the way, again, I wasn't there to see anything, so someone can always throw that in my face, which is fine. It is what it is. But at the same time, again, if you also use the excuse to say, well, why didn't they say something earlier? And I'm like, okay, sometimes it takes people years to get something like that off of them. Sometimes you're in a situation where you can't say anything at all, or you lose your livelihood. This person, the thing is, again, as I talked about last week, Bambaataa allowed people to live with him, live in his nation, that were homeless and that were going through abuse where he was coming from, and the brother also indicated that his mom actually slept with his best friend. And so this is Ron Savage I'm talking about, and this is like crazy, it was crazy, because it's like, man, he's already coming from a broken home, and then perceived now that he was also being taken advantage of by a person that he considered to be a father figure. Again, and he also stated he doesn't want Bambaataa to go to jail or anything like that. He just wanted to get it off his chest. Now, he talked about the picture that circulated where he was crying. He said that came from him putting out tweets saying Afrika Bambaataa molested me, and it just like went viral. But somebody from the Zulu Nation came to him and told him to take him down, take it off, and he was also asked that question from the people from Silent TV saying, okay, has anyone tried to threaten your life, to make you change your story? And, he said the older generation, no, but the younger ones, yeah. And he can he's only telling you what he's going through. And at the end of the day, though, as one point as we say, well, we don't know what happened, we can't say, you can't ever tell a person what didn't happen to them. That doesn't even make any sense to do. And I notice that's what we're doing. We're like, well, we're just automatically saying someone's lying. That doesn't make any sense because, again, as I said last week, and I will always say this, if this was your child, what would you do? Would you immediately think that your child was lying, or would you do whatever you could to investigate that situation? We don't know. The thing is, we keep pretending like we don't know what to do because we're in this limbo state as black people, like we're powerless. We keep putting this powerless aura over us, and it's like, what on earth are you doing? That was your child, and that was someone who looked like you, may not have been related to you, but they are your child at the end of the day. So that's the thing. This is still unraveling right now, and the brother was like, why did Bambaataa need a lawyer? And of course people will say, well, shit, you got people doing time in prison and didn't do nothing at all, and they didn't have a lawyer. They had a court-appointed lawyer. This man went and got lawyered up because he, by perception, feels that he could be getting railroaded. In his mind, he said they're all false, But at the end of the day, somebody was victimized, and that's what it's looking like right now. That is my honest assessment of the situation. I wish something like that. I wish it never hurt, but at the same time, this is real. I have no problem being right or wrong about what I'm saying because I'm just like anybody else. But at the same time, I'm a person that will one day have children, and I know what I would do if my child came to me and told me that X did this to me, I'm going to handle it. I'm going to handle it myself. I'm not going to ever allow anyone to do something to my child and me just sit here and pretend it never happened. That's ridiculous. Or blame my child, or if I'm in an organization and a child comes to me because they don't feel they can come to their, parents, but they come to me and I don't do nothing about that, what does that say about me? And what does that say about everybody else? What does that say about us as a whole, that we continue to allow these things to go on? It's ridiculous. So it's sad, but We got to move on from this for this week. Next thing is Beyonce. One thing I noticed about us as a people, and I say the sisters specifically, is a lot of our sisters are Beyonce fans. We either blatant or covert, and a lot of them that consider themselves to be conscious Beyonce fans. I never cared for her either way. I considered her music to be very negative towards black men. It was always pay my bills. It was always I'm independent. You know, I bought it. I depend on me. I'm like, okay. You know, it was just, you know, people perceived it as women's empowerment. But it's kind of funny to be women's empowerment when it's always about what you can do in spite of some other man. So, you know, the Super Bowl performance comes out, and I was on the bandwagon for a minute because, you know, hey, anything that comes out that we feel black people can have an awakening from, and from a celebrity standpoint, I'm all for that. Like with the Kendrick Lamar situation, I was for that too. But the reality is this. If you're signed to Zionist labels, how far can you really go with revolutionary acts? Like, how far can you really go with it, truthfully? There's a cap over what these artists can actually do. And that was shown by Public Enemy, because some people feel that in hip-hop, that the beginning of the end of classic hip-hop, honestly, as they put it, was October of 1993, when Midnight Marauders and Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers came out the same day. That was the end of it. And which I can agree partially with that. But if you go back to 1990, probably the most powerful rap song there ever was Fight the Power. And in that, you know, they're indicating, you know, certain white supremacist heroes, from Elvis to John Wayne. And they went in. Public Enemy went in, as they always do. You know, and yet, you know, Professor Griff that indicates to Jews, you know, what they've been doing to black people for years, and they are responsible for the evil of the world, you know, indicating the Zionist movement, period. Nothing that he said was wrong. You know, if you want to go reference what he was saying, look for the book, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. You also have a book, you know, Luciferian Conspiracy by my father, Dr. York, that broke that down, period. No one had anything to say then, but the moment he came out on the world stage, and next thing you know, his stuff gets doctored up, and you know that song itself. You even had in the video, because it was a soundtrack from Do the Right Thing. In the video, you have the sister. I don't remember her name, but this was, of course, filmed in New York. The sister that was a victim of police brutality. They knocked her teeth out and they raped her. Sister, you know. And she was in the video. So it's so much stuff that was going on in that video. That's why I would say Public Enemy is the greatest rap group of all time, because of the relevancy that they still to this day hold. You know, they're not even signed to a major label anymore. That's how you know what they were saying was above that cap. And every other artist looks at that as an example for, if they want to be revolutionary, we know we can only go so far because we're signed to the Zionist labels. So there's only so much you can really say or do. And so going back to Beyonce, it's very you know, peculiar that a lot of our sisters say, okay, I'm conscious and this and that, so, you know, but Beyonce up until a certain point has never really exuded consciousness, if you want to define it. All of a sudden she does two things, or she makes the video, the Formation video. All of a sudden now we got to get on, you know. But before we wasn't really rocking with her like that unless you were doing it on the low. Now all of a sudden there's a bunch of memes being created, not just sisters but also brothers as well, championing her. Then all of a sudden you get the, you know, the song or I don't know what it was, song or album about Lemonade or something like that, which, and it's indicating her situation with Jay-Z, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't, which in reality is probably a creation, because she knows in the back of her mind that black people will follow her around to death. Black women specifically as well. I'm just keeping it 100 today, because we're looking for something. We have, and brothers with Kendrick Lamar have an over infatuation with celebrities being our lead to something that we should be able to do ourselves. I like Kendrick Lamar's about. I mean, he's doing whatever he can, bit here, bit there. But again, always remember that these artists know that there's a limit to what I can say. I like the fact that he pissed white folks off at the award show at the Grammys. That's real talk. Piss these crackers off. They're supposed to feel bad. It's supposed to make them uncomfortable, make the cave people uncomfortable. But again, you're under their supervision, so they'll let you say this here and there, say that here and there, because it's rehearsed. But at the end of the day, if he starts really banging on them and starts really exposing real stuff, they're gonna shut him down immediately. If Beyonce was really hammering the status quo, hammering this society, hammering white supremacy, she wouldn't even have a voice anymore. If she really was saying something that was really going against them, I always remember something my father said: anything that they do not want to exist will not exist. If they want you to exist, you will exist. They can make or break any black artist, because, again, every black artist is bought and sold. Depending on how powerful you are, depending on how big you are, all they have to do is buy your likeness. See, they know with Beyonce, specifically not just, Kendrick was on a little smaller level, but Beyonce on a deeper level with black people, they know that they can control 1 million black people with just one black person. You buy their likeness, you create the name, you fund that name, that it doesn't matter what she does, we will follow behind that. Even if she comes out and says, she had her, in the Super Bowl performance, she looked Panther-ish, had the dancers Panther-ish, so she looked the part. But not looking at it from a panoramic perspective, you have the gay flag in the crowd. So she has to appease people for a specific agenda. She knows what she's doing. It's very strategic. She knows that it don't matter what I do, black people will follow me. It don't matter what she does. We have a love affair with black celebrities, even though for the most part they have never shown that they have our best interest in mind. We look for things. Like, see they doing this, see they doing that. I'm just like, okay. So at the end of the day, what is she really about? But she's showing you. Again, she can come out right now and say, I'm for the gay agenda, or she'll turn around and say, you know what? I think homosexuals, or not, I'll say homosexual. I think gays, I don't think it should really be a name on sexual orientation. I think people should just be as they are. And she can march in a gay parade right now with a fist up, with Panther regalia, and very few people will say anything about that, because we'll try to do our best to look past that. Well, she was, she kind of says feminist things here and feminist things there. So I would say to myself, wouldn't that, ring an alarm in your brain that she's playing both sides of the fence? Because she knows she can play black people however she wants to play them. You got to look at certain things instead of having selective sight. We have a very selective sight when it comes to black celebrities. You can point something out to our people, but they will do it whatever they can to ignore it. And that's a sad situation that we deal with. So we have to be on our P's and Q's when we're looking at these celebrities, black celebrities specifically. So, all this stuff is very prevalent, and we have to start paying attention to this, because she tried, I think this had to have been 2 or 3 years ago that she went out there and made certain feminist remarks. And I'm like, the feminist movement, is not for black people. And I've said this before. Black feminists, women, I don't care what you call yourself, all that shit comes from the Gloria Steinem era of convincing black women that their enemy was the black man. The black man was oppressing you, not white supremacy, specifically black men. Then you have black feminist movies such as The Color Purple and all this other stuff that gives black women a perception of what their man is. So we got to start looking at all these type of things and realizing that, man, okay, you can have your phone with Beyonce right now, but eventually she will let you know where she stands. And again, when you sign with these labels, regardless of which one they are, they're all ran by the Jews. These crackers are running this stuff, and they're running. Thing is, especially where she's at, there's also a cap for the amount of money that a black artist can make. And I'm leading into Prince right here. You got a $200 million club that she is probably in. You sign your life over to them. You know, my father gave me, information on Michael Jackson where his father signed him over sexually to the Jews. He was heavily molested in Zionist sex parties that a lot of us don't know about because we don't do the research. This stuff is real. This is not conspiracy theorists. This stuff is real. That's why when I did the Luciferian conspiracy lecture, in the lecture I indicated Talmud because it lets you know that they have no problem having sex with children, little boys and girls. And they'll do whatever they can, as I said, to bring in the pedophilia agenda to be a sexual orientation. But again, wealth in black people is something that they do not want to see happen. So there is a certain cap space, again, that Beyonce is allowed to have. If she was to turn around and do a conglomerate with other wealthy black people to create a black budget, or let's say a black wealth, however you want to put it, we have to create black wealth on, let's say, an economic base. And if she did that, let's say Oprah, come together with Oprah, create an economic base, come together with Jada Pinkett, create an economic base, they will turn on her in a minute. It's plain and simple. And it's leading me into what happened, of course, with Michael Jackson. You're dealing with Sam Cooke and now Prince. They own their masters and they're gone. You also have, as Tariq Nasheed indicated in the Breakfast Club Monday in the interview, that Eazy-E, he feels, was implanted with AIDS because he found the way to get his masters even after Ruthless Records defunct. He had his own label. He finally got rid of Jerry Heller, and he was able to get the masters to NWA. That's why they all, if you look at the movie, they all had to do whatever they could to come to Easy to get the NWA popping off again, get that back, to get the NWA ball rolling. But again, you owning your masters is something that you could distribute your music however you want, and whenever your music is coming out, whether it's being played, you get a piece of that. That's wealth. The Jews do not want to see black folks with any type of real wealth, and especially with those masters. Michael Jackson owned 50% of the masters of Sony, and he was eliminated. Sam Cooke owned his masters, and he was shot and killed. People say, well, what about you got Jay-Z? I'm like, well, Jay-Z should watch his back. You also have Ray Charles. Ray Charles, people will say, well, Ray Charles, he lived to be old age. I'm like, but you also have drugs, psychopathic drugs, that they also indicated and made confessions that they also did to Huey P. Newton, where he slowly but surely lost his mind. So it's no surprise to me, or I would not be surprised if they did the same thing to Ray Charles, poisoning him and slowly but surely dying. Because they can indicate in the movie, he was, he withered away, he was old, and he also did heroin. We believe everything that they tell us. We do not know how to look under the surface for what situations are really going on. We don't realize that a lot of movies that have information, a lot of movies are propaganda to steer us in certain directions. But we have to realize Prince, again, bought those, he bought his masters and was able to own the rights to his music. They couldn't have that for too long, and he had to be gone. Then next thing you know, you see, if you remember, the first thing you heard about Prince's death was, oh man, it was either he had AIDS and he had, he was doing drugs, all this stuff that we know wasn't true. The brother was a vegan. He wasn't sick. He even did a performance that Sunday morning, because he had a big party at his home. Hundreds of people were there, and the next thing you know, they said he was sick and all this other stuff, but he couldn't have been too sick because he performed at his home for hundreds of people in the morning. They're all still groggy, but he's up. Are you telling me the performance killed him? So all this stuff we have to start looking at, man. The whole thing comes down to wealth. There's still a wealth gap in America that is still eating away at black people because of what happened after slavery, after all that slave money was taken and was distributed to all parts, not just in the United States, but in the world, because America was a superpower because of slavery. And then you have what happened with Jim Crow, all those other things that trickled down, which put black people in a disenfranchised position. So to this day, they are still fighting to make sure blacks never get a certain amount of wealth, that they'll always put black celebrities in all these different positions separated so they can never come together, create a black economic conglomerate so that blacks have a economic base to go to instead of having to worry about voting for someone else for your rights, where you can create your rights in your own government, in your own land, law, and sovereignty. That's reality. So the brother Prince, that's our brother, man. We got to stop looking at or listening to other people that push him to the side and say, well, he was this, or I think he was that. And it's like, literally, you don't have, and the thing is, you don't have this in other races. White people don't do that. They don't turn around and next thing you know, they're destroying the character of an individual. You don't see them coming out on Elvis with his drug addict situation. He's a drug addict, but you don't hear them talking about it. And they'll fight you if you bring that up. J. Edgar Hoover was a homosexual. He was a cross-dresser, a transgender. They don't. If you brought that up to them, they'll get mad at you. But if someone brings up Prince to you, you'll be sitting around trying to wonder whether he was gay or bisexual. That's ridiculous. So we have to start looking at things and learning again how to diagnose things when they happen, as opposed to allowing them to basically control us to look at things from the eyes of Europeans. And we still have a really bad problem with that. We have not learned how to solve that perception of ourselves. And until we learn how to do that, before you make a diagnosis of your own people, learn how to look at everything from that situation before you say, well, this is what I think. Because the media can make you look at anything a certain type of way. That's reality. So I'm going to take it off, mute, and we can build. All right, give me a minute, y'all. I'll be getting on.
They said after his show, he performed in front of hundreds of people. Okay? They showed pictures of him outside riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
They showed pictures of him outside riding a bicycle, and they said and confirmed that he went to Walgreens 4 times in the same day before he died, and nothing was wrong with him. I'm like, Wait a minute, this is not adding up. Then you have to look at, they went from one extreme to the other. First of all, he died of drugs overdose, or he had AIDS, or what was that other thing they made up? He died from flu-like symptoms. They couldn't even, and like brother Tariq said, they can't get their lie right. They're trying to figure out a lie to tell so they can cover this up. The thing of it is, Warner Brothers wanted his masters. They wanted that vault that is in Paisley Park in Chanhassen, Minnesota, because they trying to make a deal with the family, cut a deal with the family. They get their hands on his masters and get their hands on the vault, which has thousands of songs in it, so they can make money off of it and get their share of the royalties as well as the masters. Because I knew that was a setup. And then, because they knew if they went straight to Prince wasn't going to give it to him. And I listened to Brother Griff yesterday, and he talked with a brother who's close to the camp. He said Prince would even think about burning the vault to keep Warner Brothers from getting their hands on it.
Wow.
Yeah, he was thinking about burning the vault. Those are thousands upon thousands of songs he had. And look at Michael Jackson. He owned a catalog to thousands of other artists, and then after he died, Sony, come to the Jackson family, made a deal for $750 million. To the average Negro, that's a lot of money, but to them it's chump change.
Right.
But they making billions of dollars on Michael Jackson, and they gave the family chump change.
Right.
So, like Prince made the statement before, if you don't own the masters, the master owns you.
True.
So, people need to investigate and do their research. And these, Prince fans, and I try to tell them, I said, something about that ain't right.
No, it's not.
He was outside riding a bicycle, brother. Riding a bicycle before his death. So he can just up and just cuck up and die like that. Somebody murked him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did my investigation. I'm still investigating things on it because they want that vault, brother. That vault got thousands upon thousands of songs because Prince got, his lawyer and got all his master recordings back. And that upset people. Sam Cooke, not only Sam Cooke, Jimi Hendrix. They poisoned him. He wouldn't even sign with them, wouldn't even take the oath, and wouldn't even give him his masters. He complained about his money.
Right.
So there's other artists out there that wanted their masters and ended up getting killed.
Mm-hmm. That's real.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we don't look at it from an honest perspective. There's a lot of us that are waking up to seeing what's going on, especially with that. It's like, come on, especially with the Michael Jackson situation that, a lot of us didn't know. I didn't know that until he died, that he owned half of Sony. Like, wow, he owned half of Sony.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, he made the announcement. Yeah, he made the announcement he owns Sony catalog. Even Dick Gregory confirmed that too. When he came out, talking about the Beatles catalog, that was small. That was just chump change. He owned Beyonce. He owned a lot of country music artists. He owned R&B. He owned rap. He owned rock. He owned a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And the masters. He bought the masters to Little Richard and gave it back to him free of charge.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's why you don't hear Little Richard complaining.
Nope. No, not at all.
Yeah. So Prince, he was all about the artist being free.
Right. And
then he started speaking out about chemtrails and started speaking out about the Illuminati's agenda. He even made one song he did in concert about the dropping the bomb. He made a prediction about 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, no, he's too powerful. He's getting too powerful. We got to take him out. So, yeah, when I saw that brother, I said, yeah, they murdered him. It was just straight murder.
Yeah. 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 There's no other way for me. It was crazy because when I heard it, it was like, wow, like Prince, like, wow. That's all I just kept saying, it's like, yeah, gone.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. And they said, talking about he was on drugs. The people on the closest company said Prince wouldn't even allow something so small as a cigarette in Paisley Park. You got thoroughly searched. And if you were found with any kind of paraphernalia, and so much as a cigarette, you were put out of there. So I know it's a lie. It just don't sound right. And then I went to a concert and got close to him myself. Didn't get a chance to speak, but I got close to him. He wouldn't even allow that in his camp. He wouldn't allow cigarettes. He wouldn't allow people smoking. He just wouldn't allow it.
Right.
So yeah, something about that I said, and a lot of these brothers and sisters who Prince fans were hurt, and I was hurt and sad for them. I said, y'all gotta. I went immediately and investigated. I said, something about this just doesn't seem right.
Right. No, it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
And then you see within 3 days his body's cremated.
Cover up.
Yeah, immediately. Okay, like we don't even know whether he even believed in that or not. We just know cremated. You know,
Yeah.
like,
They didn't have an autopsy.
They had an autopsy.
it had all.
What did they say the autopsy said?
It's gonna take a while for that, brother. They already said it's gonna take a while for it, 3 to 4 weeks. But I know, you and I know if you used to write overstanding, they're gonna wait till at least a month and a half to come out with an autopsy saying he died of this, just to part of the cover up. It's cover up. And then you go up and cremate his body right after the autopsy? Come on now. They cover something. They hiding something.
Right.
I think he was caught.
I do believe, like I saw a meme where people were like, well, we gotta rally behind Stevie Wonder. That's as soon as, they were being funny, but I do really believe that we should. I don't think he owns his masters like that. I know he owns creative, process with his music, but he doesn't own his masters. So, it's not to say we shouldn't worry, but still, that's still our people that we do need to worry about things like this because, then you had Billy Paul. He died, I think, maybe 2 days later. A lot of people don't heard of Billy Paul. He's a brother that did Me and Mrs. Jones. But you can see our artists are dropping, and this is not funny. We got to start paying attention to things like this. These are signs of what's going on, But man, yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
True indeed. Yeah, they're American artists who speak out. A lot of just like, and if you want out of the industry or want out of what you're doing when you sign that contract written in blood, go back to what happened with that white boy Paul Walker. I did some investigating on that. His family said he wanted out of the industry. He wanted out because he got tired of doing you got to do rituals to do those big movies. You got to go through those rituals. And he got tired of it. Didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted out. And the talking started coming that he didn't want to do it anymore. Right. And they struck his car with a drone. If you look at that whole accident and they showed on it just blew up like that, how does a Porsche blow up like that unless they hit it with a drone or rig it with a bomb?
Right.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
No, it didn't. You're trying to get out of a situation that you're bonded with them for life. Mm-hmm. And this is a real phenomenon. This is like real. This isn't something real. You cannot make this up. Some people might try to do whatever they can to piece it together here and there, but what goes on in this industry in Hollywood and those other stuff, this is real. All they're trying to do is continue to, on a bigger level, create slave camps out of these performers. And once performers try to do whatever they can to get out of that situation, they go out of their way to get rid of them. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Look at DMX and what they doing to him. They scaring him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They messing with him.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, they'll freeze your accounts. They'll go in. If you don't do what they tell you to do, they'll send the police after you. They'll send the IRS after you. They'll freeze your accounts. They'll do all kind of stuff. They'll go to the media, slander you, and saying that you doing this and that. Same thing they're doing to Michael Jackson. We'll send the IRS after you some trumped up tax charges or tax evasion, take your money or freeze your accounts and do all kind of stuff and threaten your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The Hudson situation,
to me, when that happened, I automatically was like, nah, this isn't just some random, the brother-in-law goes crazy and kills a whole family. Nah. Immediately I was like, no, something else is behind this. Because you got to realize one man that is connected to a lot of these artists is Clive Davis. And for a long time, she was connected to Clive. I'm not sure if she still is to this day, but she was very much connected to Clive Davis. And Clive Davis is a Zionist. And we don't know what was done behind those doors, but what we do know is that he has his hands on a lot of, the artists who have made it big over a certain period of time. And if he wanted her, we never know what could have happened, but if he wanted her family to be gone, they could be gone. The Zionists have specific people that are like spokesmen for them that eases their way into black lives. They're not all going to come at the same time, but they make sure that they groom specific ones of them. And the main one, if you notice, is Clive Davis. For the most part, you see him also was connected to Whitney Houston, and he was connected also to Michael Jackson. People think it just was Quincy Jones. No, Quincy Jones is on a higher level. His boss for a long time was Clive Davis. Clive Davis already admitted to being bisexual. So we got to start looking, even with Clive Davis and Usher. Usher has learned how to start watching his back and start trusting everybody. We can see, of course, he's, getting conscious with certain things, but at the same time, Clive Davis he's made sure that he's put his hands on black people, connected himself with a lot of black artists for a long time. Of course, people remember him really mostly for connecting himself with Alicia Keys. But and even in that situation, remember, we got to look at that situation with Jennifer Hudson. Is like, wow, that was ridiculous. The whole family gone just like that.
Right.
Sacrifice killings. These are blood situations. Like with Kanye, he signs his life over. Certain things you get out of line, they go for your next of kin. If they want you broke, if they want to spank you a certain type of way, they just either take out your people or take out your money, and for the most part, a lot of times it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
All this stuff is real. We got to start looking at it for what it is.
Oh, it's very real. It's very real. Yeah.
Can't make this up.
And they go by Luciferian, satanic Luciferian calendar on when they do the next blood sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these things are real.
Mm-hmm. This stuff is serious, man. This stuff is serious. We just got to be able to look at it for what it is. As I always say, diagnose it for what it is, as opposed to just standing around looking confused. It's like this is not the time to be looking confused right now. This is reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but does anyone have any questions on anything that's been talked about today? All right. Well, I can go ahead and shut it down. And just want to say towel after everybody that did get on. And so I say peace, Hotep Washuk, and Black Power family.
Hotep Washuk.